right, hello, hello, hello. And we are live. What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us. Hello to our friends in chat. India Francis says, hello, Mick.
Hello, India.
Mick, it is another episode of Modern Explorers Live. Where are you?
This place is called Karleby. It's near a town that begins with F. I've got no idea how to pronounce these Swedish words. But it's in an area that's just absolutely full of these chambers, these dolmen type structures. It's obviously, I'm starting to head towards the east of Sweden now. And I'm not sure what you can see behind me. I've got no idea how much of it you can see. There's one there, and one there. They're quite fantastic. They really are.
This is
How
a
are you
unique
doing, Joe?
spot.
Have you had coffee?
I've got some coffee. I'm doing good. It's early in the morning here. But one of the awesome things about this, just zooming in and messing with the map, is that there are 3 dolmen in a row just visible on the map here, like in a northern to southern alignment, as well as actually some more stone stuff. Another dolmen there to the west. It appears to be, thank you Google Maps, more to the east. You know, there's all sorts of little rock formations that you can see. Again, this is a job for AI and star maps, but how is it there?
There's tons. I mean, even on the drive here this morning, you're just passing them. They're all over the place. Like, like it's all farmland. So you're just passing fields, and then there's just a big dolmen in the middle of it. And so this whole area, there's these 3, which we'll have a look at, but there's one that's, I think is about 500 meters down the road, maybe less. And on megalithic, on their website, it shows very well how many there are. And they're in the center of the town. I'm going to go there tomorrow, I think. There's a dolmen, a standing stone, there's mounds, there's carvings in this town. I think it's about 5 kilometers behind me.
So the drone footage
whole area is very densely.
Yeah, no, I'm playing the drone footage you took, and it's like there's like some really cool slab work. Do you know if these have been like reconstructed or anything like that? Does it tell you anything about that?
They've been excavated, so you would think so. We can go and have a look at the sign. Firstly, I did it at the beginning of the video yesterday, but I want to thank the comments on our YouTube, because I wouldn't have come here without that, and this is a beautiful site. So I'm grateful I forget the username of the person who put these comments, but there was 2 people who put lots of suggestions, and this is one of them. I'm going to go to some more. So anyone watching or seeing this, please feel free to suggest sites. I've got no idea where I'm going for the rest of Sweden, but happy to take suggestions. But I'm going to turn the camera around, and I'm just going to lock the van up. This is where I've been staying for the last 3 weeks. And over here there's the sign to it. So quite a lot of interesting things it says on there. I sent a few pictures of him, Jay, as well. I'm not sure if you've seen those, but there's basically this bit is in English only. This is, again, an aerial shot, the map. But there's some very interesting things. So this bit, for example, it says there are a little over 500 known megalithic graves in Sweden. A good half of these are in Karleby, or however you say that, which is this area. This is the area that was suggested to me. So over half of all the graves are in this area, and they come in groups of 5 to 15. So, as I said, there's these 3, and then there's one off in that direction there as well, and probably a 5th. There's piles of rocks all over the place. I'm going to head over here. We should tidy up as well what we did yesterday. I'm not sure if people or anyone saw, but my phone got hot, and we did quite a short show in the end, didn't we? So
Yeah.
We went to that Dolmen and Stone Circle I went to after the show.
That's right, and that was a nice clustered area. So we didn't get to really go to the rest of it, but I got to tell you, this is fascinating because like this dolmen has, the one in the middle has a very unique design to it. Or actually, was that the one in the south? Are there 4 in a row?
So there's 3 that are really close. Look, it's literally 100 meters. There's one there, one here, and one here. So I'm going to the center of the 3 that are really close. But then there's another one.
There's a 4th one.
I think it would probably, yes, there is, but it's not. I'm not walking there. It's a bit further away. So these are like 100 meters apart. The next one is, I'm not sure, like 400, 500 meters past that one. I have a look at this sign. Sorry, I walked straight past the sign, but it says this is the largest passive grave in the Nordic countries. So the chamber measures 16 by 2.5 meters. It's 11 meters long. So again, in a mound, huge mound. This one.
Yeah. Yeah, this is cool.
It's pretty big. I'm not sure it's you're picking up my wind. It's quite windy here. As per usual. So yeah, capstones, big old stones. But these are a different type that we've seen. You know, we saw that yesterday and the day before, the sort of pink quartz, sort of granite style of stone. This is, look at this. This is like sedimentary. This is more like concrete. It's totally different stone used for these sites. Still some red and some black. I'm not sure if that's significant, but these are all pretty big. I mean, like, the biggest has got to be this one, and that's probably 6 tons, 7 tons. And then it's all caved in, totally caved in. I can't get inside any of it. This is more or less buried, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not sure, I didn't see if what they found at these sites, but they tend to be finding in this region, they seem to be finding cremation, like dead bodies, cremated remains, and urns and that kind of thing. So I'm not sure what they found here.
So then, if we're like talking about the purpose of these things, they've put like 4, and then there's a 5th one to the west there. 5 of these, essentially these graveyards, just right next to each other, and then they would just put little urns in them. Why would you build 5 graveyards right next to each other in such a pattern? You know, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah. Well, I guess we put our graves in grave sites nowadays, don't we?
Yeah, but it's also just like, why? I mean, how many can you fit in there? Like, how many like urns or like remains can you fit in one of those things? Why not make them significantly bigger? Yeah. And then also like just the work it takes, you know, like to get a single headstone made nowadays, to get a gravestone made, let alone build a whole complex out of gravestones. Doesn't make sense. Like, why would you go to all that trouble?
Well, I think people say that these would be like kings and queens, or whatever they would call them. You know, the sort of deities or the elites, the important people. But again, see, one thing that I'm finding about Sweden is most of the time we go around the world and we find these. Sorry, I'm just moving because I just realised that the phone was in the sun, and I don't want what happened yesterday to happen. Yeah, so they would, you know, kings and queens and the important people of the village would have these types of sites. But the thing is around the world, we don't find remains at all of them. But in Scandinavia, it seems to be. I've never been to somewhere and visited these sites and been so convinced of the official argument that these are tombs, because they seem to be finding, like where we were yesterday at the grave fields, it said that they found cremated remains in all of, or almost all of, the graves. And that's the sort of thing that makes me think, okay, then these are graves. Fair enough. If you're finding cremated remains, then that makes sense, doesn't it? But when you go to structures like this that you find in Portugal and France and Spain and Germany, and they don't find the same, I don't believe, they don't find the same like amount of cremated remains. Usually they'll find a little piece of animal bone or something. It'll be a little tiny piece, not carcasses or big skeletons or anything like that. They'll find a little piece of bone and they'll date that, and then it's a tomb, So, but in Scandinavia, it seems like I could buy the story, but that doesn't mean that it's not been used at a later date. Like these were built 10,000 years ago, and then 5,000 years ago they used them as tombs. I mean, that doesn't mean that that's what these were for. But yeah, I do get the feel like they've been used for that a lot in this area.
Yeah, you can see that here on Megalithic's map that there's just so much in this one small area that you're in.
Can you see the town? The town it's like 5 kilometers from here on the megalithic is full, absolutely full. I'm going to go there tomorrow, or maybe even this evening.
Yeah, wow.
So let's head over. This is the biggest one. While you're having a look, I'm going to walk over to
Karleby. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wow. Yeah, there's a ton.
That's it.
And it's along, you can see that they're still kind of along their main road, which is interesting because, those trade routes go through generations and generations and generations, which is really interesting.
Another thing as well you can see from looking at that map is that it seems to be in clusters, like it was community, like there were communities. Like we went to yesterday, there was a dolmen, and actually there was 3 dolmen in the end where we went yesterday. When I got down there, it said on the sign that there were 2 more.
But Broadway in New York was an old trade route. That was an old, like, First Peoples trade route. So it's still today considered such a busy, it's like one of the busiest streets, right? And that's because it has stood the test of time as being one of those old routes of sales. There's a place in Virginia near Washington, D.C. called Tyson's Corner is the region, I think. And it was originally a farm, and now it's like a huge shopping industry or a big tech industry area, big offices, but they call it Tyson's Corner because that was the name of the farm there. So like the trade routes and the roads and the paths, the names change possibly, but like they are always used through history as that, like it always continues to be that kind of route, that area that people would pass through for communal exchange, And you can see this on the megalithic map. There's like a path that's their main drag, and maybe that's just like coincidence now that they've just marked all of them or saved all the ones that are on the main tourist path, but maybe not. Maybe it is just a historical route where humans have traded here for centuries and centuries,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, just and just to add to the point that we're making, they found the remains of 80 people. So they excavated in 1872, and inside the chamber they found the remains in several different compartments. Well-preserved bones from 80 people were also found. Excavating on the outside of the passage had not been considered. So this is what I mean. Like in Scandinavia, I can believe that this was, if they found 80 remains of 80 bodies here, then I'm up for believing that this is a tomb or a grave or whatever name you want to give it. It's when we go to these other dolmen around the world and there's nothing there. It's like a little piece of bone. So this one, again, I'm not really going to be able to get in here, I don't think. They're all pretty old. Huge stones again. This one.
Is it so simple as just put the bodies in there and cover it with dirt? You know, is it that simple? I don't know.
What do you mean?
As the purpose of them, I don't think so. You know, 80 people. That's a lot of kings and queens, man. How many?
Oh shit!
Is it just the Senate?
Fell down a hole.
Put the whole Senate in there.
Well, and I think it said on that sign as well that the remains they were placed here over a span of 300 years. So it wasn't, that's not 80 people, like a dead king once every 50 years. That's, so like you say, but I guess with the family and, God, I don't know.
No, so it's 300 years divided by 80 people is every 3.5 years they're putting someone in there. I don't know. Did I do the math on that right? So, I don't know. That doesn't really add up.
No, but...
And if it's kings and queens, what are we talking, 6 years? So they're like, hey, you did your time in the dirt. I don't think so.
But then you look at what they say about Egypt, right? Because they also say that they were buried with all of their treasures and their slaves and all of that kind of thing, weren't they? Sometimes I think the pharaohs, and again, I'm just taking this out of my head, so I might be wrong about the details, but I'm pretty sure some of them were buried with, a team of slaves and all of that kind of thing. So this stone here is massive. Sorry, man. I've just realised. Look how long that one is. That one stone. It goes all the way. That's almost like half the dolmen.
Whoa. Is it thin? Is it a kind of a wall stone, or is it like a slab, or is it like a?
Yeah, it is.
Cool. Wow, that's huge.
It's like
I'd make a great tabletop.
Islands,
Yeah. Why don't you pull that out, bring that home, we'll put some legs under it. Make it a nice banquet table. Whoa. Look at all the
hell of a lot of erosion on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know.
Wow, that's really cool. Hey, there's trees in it. How did they excavate that? That hasn't been touched in a long time.
No, some of them haven't.
Somebody left their water bottle on it, though. Phoebe Francis says, hi, Mick. And a little Swedish flag.
Cute.
Cool. Well, that's pretty awesome.
So,
what else? Site.
Do you want to go see that one? That's in the sun and it's hot, so I'm just letting the phone chill out.
Yeah, we don't want to burn the tech. The drone footage looks awesome. God, we got to get like a LiDAR. What's the LiDAR situation? What can we do to improve I wonder what a LiDAR drone does in this.
How much do they exist?
They're out there. I'm just wondering what it would do for us in this circumstance, How far beneath the earth can those things penetrate? And what would it take to get one? I imagine you'd have to do quite a few passes over time. Somebody's out there with something, though. It's either a metal detector or a weed whacker. I'm guessing a weed whacker. But
well, isn't there a website where you can? I think they've done it. Like it's almost like they've scanned the whole Earth, and you can pay to get a section of it, or you can somehow. There's a guy in Poland who I'm friends with on Facebook he's been doing it over places in Poland. I don't know how he does it, but he's sent me things, and it's like a forest, and then it looks like there's a fort in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Shall I walk over to that one? You want to walk over to that one?
Yeah, we can if you want to check out. The fact that there's 4 in a row is unreal. They're just like right in a vertical line. I think that's phenomenal. I'm really curious about this town too, because I see that they have like a lot of city parks there in the city that you're gonna go to. Curious how they do the stones and where they are, for that matter. They're just all through the park. I mean, you'd have to literally just walk through all these little parks and stuff because they're just everywhere.
Yep. Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'll take some footage. I'm going to do that after here, and I'm going to take some little videos and I'll put them on Instagram.
Yeah, because I mean, there's like, let's see, there's like so many. I don't even know where the most impressive ones would be. Let's see. There's a place where the tracks split. Whoops. There you go. The tracks split in this town.
The next recommendation is over by. Do you see a lake? So if you from here, then you go to the town, and then a little bit further, there's a lake. There's some sites over there. That's where I'm going to head to next.
Okay.
It still surprises me how many there are in Sweden.
Unbelievable.
It's just,
you gotta.
And you don't hear much about them either, do you?
No. Unbelievable. You know, you kind of surprised me with Germany, and when we were in the Netherlands on this similar trip long ago, the scale of those kind of blew me away. But now to see these and compare them to those, and then also to think about those ships. I mean, because the one in the Netherlands are really interesting. They're like, and Germany, they're I don't know, they're just developed. They're just built so differently, so much differently compared to these, right? They have the big capstone, and then the big side stones, and then another big capstone and two side stones. And they have like this like rib cage kind of look to them, whereas these have more of a chambered look. They use the big slabs, like the thin stones as slabs. I think that's very unique as well when you compare the two.
But it seems that they were building. You know, there's the passage grave, which is like these, when it's like a big sort of tomb-like thing, and then there's the dolmen, where you've just got, you know, basically one or two maybe capstones on top of like 4 or 5 rocks. But they're both found all over the place. So Spain has these, Portugal has these.
Yeah,
maybe not to the same degree, but and that's what's so interesting, because that's basically covering Europe. It seems like Europe was the megalithic builders, at least. All right, but then you've got 30,000 dolmen, like, you know, similar to this in Korea.
Yeah.
So that's a big. That's over the other side of the world. That's like an 11-hour flight, I would think, or something like that. So that's basically over the other side of the world, and you've got 30,000 of these same things. So, you know, we have just a lot of questions. How were these people communicating? Did they exchange ideas? Is that why they're so similar? Because if so, isn't that kind of like a civilization? But, you know, that's basically, we're a global civilization now because we can communicate with anyone all over the world. It's basically communication that makes you a civilization, right? So if they were transferring ideas all around the world, then that's a global civilization.
Yeah, precisely.
That was building pyramids the size that they are in Egypt and in
Ecuador or something.
Right. This capstone here, I reckon, is probably 6 or 7 tons. One of them in Korea, the largest in the world, is 340 tons. But now all of these stones together, this whole structure that's the biggest in the Nordic countries, is no more than 100 tons. So you've got a single capstone on top of a dolmen that's like the weight of 3 of these whole structures that we're looking at here, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so if we had this global civilization that had technology to do amazing things, then that's a different story to they're telling us, isn't it? I guess that's where we come from. Yeah. And it's the number of them too. It's the number of them. You like what is it, 5,000 stone circles or something in the UK, and there's tens of thousands of dolmen around the world, and this was a hell of an engineering feat.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I was just ranting now.
No, I'm just, and then just, oh God, looking at the maps of the area, and you just scroll and
I'm going to walk up
scroll,
to this other one.
adjacent, you know, like there's so many. And then there's on this highway here, you know, that you're on, where these dolmen are more dolmen, and they're all along this road, right, that exists. Again, ancient trade route, right? Here's an example, all right, and I don't know if this is true, but this math seems to check out. This is a point about time as we kind of like close out with this last dolmen and mound. We've seen cart ruts all over, right? And we know they're cart ruts because they're like their width, you know, and they're embedded into like all this crazy stone everywhere. It's like it's melted into the stone through history or whatever. So as we look at these cart ruts, oh, here it is. Here's the map. As we look at these cart ruts, we think about the size of the carts, and this is where the point is going. When they made the latest rocket, okay, the rocket had to go by train. That was the only way they could transport these rocket parts to build this rocket. So our space exploration, right, is limited by trains. Okay, like whatever the size of the tunnel is for the train to go through, that's the maximum we can build parts for our rockets. So somebody said that if you trace train sizes back, the train track sizes is the width is associated with a wagon width, and the wagon widths are associated with horse width. And when they made the trains, they made them that width because that was the size of the tools that they had. And when they made the tools that size even further back, that was because that was the size the tools needed to be for the way that they did it with horses, you know. So then if you follow that back, the reason that the tools were made for the horses because the horses were pulling the wagons, and they had to come up with a size, right? And the size that they settled on was the width of 2 horses in the rear. So 2 horses' asses equals 1 unit of measurement of travel for universal travel measurement math in history. So they were like, the Romans were like, anything we build needs to be able to accommodate the width of 2 horses, which are widest at their rear. So that is why the carts were a certain width. That's why all the tools that they built the carts with were then built up and evolved into building the railways. That's the measurement that was used at the railways. And so that's why our space exploration will be limited because of history requiring us to make everything as wide as 2 horses' butts. And if you look at this, like, that just kind of shows that how history can influence millennia later.
I'm astounded by your thinking, mate.
Yeah, it is, but it's not wrong, is it? Like, at no point did somebody say, hey, like, maybe we should make the train tracks a little wider than we were doing it with the carriage carts, or like, you know, maybe we should build out this or that. No, things just kind of like were improved off of the last one, improved. Rarely did it ever go back to change. And now you look at things and, like, to get a fundamental change implemented, it takes major marketing. I mean, you'd need a campaign behind. If you had a new wheel, if you came out with a new wheel today, your wheel could be 1,000 times better than the old wheel. It could be more efficient and more impressive. And then nowadays you're like, well, if it doesn't have good marketing, nobody will ever know that your wheel was better than any wheel ever made in history, because you got to put the millions into letting the world know on Instagram how good your wheel is.
Right. So you're talking about the spreading of ideas and how, you know, we can get hooked on one idea. Well, you're right. I mean, look at, you know, Jesus, the story of one man. Look at the effect over the last 2,000 years that story, or maybe truth, has
Sure.
had.
Yeah. One book
Right.
still dictates laws, and it still influences global civilizations. You know, that book hasn't been updated in a long time. It is what it is.
No.
Yeah. Most religious
Well,
texts, right? Like, you know, they are what they are.
Dude,
And
I'm glad somebody brought horses' butts into the conversation. It's about time.
I don't think we talk about them enough, honestly. These horses' asses have ruled our way of thinking for too long. We're all being governed by horses' asses.
My goodness. I'm not stooping that low. All right, so just to quickly finish off, did you see the site I was showing?
Yeah.
So
with more entry points, man. These teed entries. These are my favorite in the dolmen structures. These giant, like, chambered entries.
And look at the use of the pink and red again. So we had that. The pink and black.
Yeah.
We had this different type of stone, wasn't it? A different type of stone in the last 2 days, but now it's a completely different stone, more sedimentary. You can see the layers, and they're still using the pink and black. So I'm imagining that was important.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Or are they just Lego colors? You know?
Yeah, brother.
Were they just let's do red walls and gray roof? Do you have any blue? No, they're rocks. They only come in 1.5 colors.
All right, I'm going to head back to this one.
Just rocks in a field, my dude.
Did you want to look at the sites we missed from yesterday?
Yeah, we can take a quick peek at some of them. Let me pull up that drive. That might be tricky.
So there's the dolmen and the circles. It was interesting because there was actually 3 circles and 3 dolmen. I thought there was 2 circles and 1 dolmen, but there was 3 of each.
Oh man, the drive's not working.
Oh, is it not?
No.
It doesn't matter. I sent you links. Yeah.
I've got I've got your drone footage up, but the drive from yesterday is not.
Oh no, it won't be. It's a different one. I had to delete it and upload it all again. There's a second link in Facebook, and it will take you straight to it.
For yesterday's?
Yeah.
Copy that. I see the second link.
So it's amazing how hot you were making fun of me yesterday for my phone overheating, but it's really hot. You don't think of it in Sweden. You don't. You think of it was all just snowy and icy, but my God, I'm baking.
It's so funny.
Proper hot. Yeah,
so
that's why I'm running over here now.
The judge's ring is really cool. Now this is a single ring. They had a single ring and a double ring, right?
There's 2. The stone. Why are you calling them rings? Do you mean stone circles?
Yes.
Is that what you mean?
Yes, the judge's ring.
So there's 2.
Yeah.
That's right. So that was one. That's not the site that I was at.
Okay.
So the site that I was at begins with V. What is it?
Vrangstad.
Something. In there's a folder called circles.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that were 100 meters down from where we lost connection yesterday.
Okay.
So I was just about to go around to those circles and show you those. There's one that's 12 stones, and there's one that's 8, and there's 3 stones left of a third one. So there was 3 circles there. And again, it was the same type of rock, the pink quartz crystal that looked like the bedrock from that area. that it was, what I was trying to say yesterday when I started getting cut out was that I was at a circle that was about a 10-minute drive earlier before I went to the site where we live streamed, and it said on the sign that this is a grave, and the graves have 7, 11, 9 or 13 stones, and then these stone circles have 8 and 12, so I'm not sure what that means.
Look at that.
Yeah, I did some flyovers and
nice looking trees.
Yeah, so you might be able to see just off to the side there's the 3 stones.
So let's talk about the topography here, because you're looking at these beautiful trees, right? The gorgeous scenery. So obviously, at the time of, we'll say, building giant stone rock things, we have to presume there were other materials. You'd be building with wood. You'd be building with mud. You'd be building with clay. They're making pottery to hold the ashes of their lost ones. So, we can also presume that they're industrial and they're making things. So, carving right into stone later on, maybe. We can presume that they're smart. So why go to all this trouble with the rocks when you could build in wood? You could chop some tree down. You could cut rock. If you can slice rock into slabs, you can make out of trees. You can plank and board. So why go to?
Well, interestingly enough, there are ceremonies around the world where they pull these rocks, quite often fair distances. So there's basically tribes that still work with stone and move large stone. So there's one in Sumba in Indonesia, for example. There's some tribes that still use megaliths to build, and there's also another. I was sent a link by my girlfriend last night. And it was really interesting. It was like a 40-minute long video, and it's about how it's a ceremony and it's showing strength. And like where we have like the strongest man type competitions, they would be lifting rocks to show their strength and all of that kind of thing. So there is that kind of theory that's why they would use the stones. They're precious, and we get metals from stones, don't forget. So metal, you wanted to get back into the minds of the people that built these sites. Metal would have been like absolutely sought after. You go from using flint to try and cut like animal flesh or skin, for example, and then you use metal. You're going to really seek that metal, aren't you? You're going to really think it's an amazing thing, like with the gold and all of this kind of stuff. So, and that all comes from rock. So you could justify the use of stones, but it's the size of them that gets me. And also, we're missing out a massive part of the story about what they were doing here, what they were for. If they weren't for tombs, which I don't think all of them were, for sure. These might have been, but around the world, not all of them, I don't think. So then what were they for? And then we come into the modern world. What do people use them for? Well, people go for meditating and having interesting experiences. Look at the Dragons Project, which was a project they did in the 80s where they took people to West Kennet Longbarrow in near Avebury, and they had them sleep there, and they measured dream patterns and all of this kind of thing, and the results weren't amazing, but that was one study. It needs to be looked at further. So it's what are these? There's magnetic energy, and there's all sorts of properties about metals that we forget. Oh, it's just a stone. But the magnetics of some of these stones could be having an effect on the magnetics of our bodies and causing some kind of thing to happen. And so. Yeah, this is the problem with looking back at history. There's not the evidence we have is pretty weak, and there's not much of it. So we're just left guessing, aren't we? Cut a long story short, we're left guessing, and that's why I just like to go to these sites and show them, because something was going on. They're amazing. They're absolutely everywhere, and they're usually in beautiful countryside.
Like now.
There you go. Another.
So we're and that's and then we've also been to some really cool countries. So we've talked about this before, but we went to the Dolmen fields in the Golan Heights, which are currently a hot spot, but for military action. But we were there years ago, and there were just fields of these things, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I remember us doing a GoPro on a selfie stick and spinning around, and there was probably like 15 or 20 in that one circle we did, wasn't there?
yeah, and I look back at old photos, and you can see them on the horizon. Like you start to look at the rock fields in the horizon, you're like, oh my god, they were everywhere. They were literally everywhere.
And speaking of dolmen, before we go, we probably, people are probably falling asleep, so let's speaking of dolmen, just get to the last one in the at that site yesterday.
Yeah,
because it was
on it now, the video on it now, and it's astounding, man. Look at this stuff.
It was really beautiful, and with the sunlight coming in, it was a lovely time to be there, honestly. And again, there was like within a mound, looked like a ship kind of shaped mound, almost maybe more like the ones that we've seen in Holland, where it's a bit more circular than a ship. But there was definite like stones along the side, and then the dolmen on top, and there was those two front portal stones. And talking about things such as what do people do here in modern times, you know, I've met people at these sites that say there's portal stones. There's almost like entrance stones to the sites usually. And that looks exactly like that. Those are two stones that are like, here's your entrance.
Yeah, like one of my favorite places in the Orkney Islands is that stone circle up there. I mean, it's almost all destroyed now, but it was on this farm. They had the two portal stones. I ended up using them for tattoo design.
Stennis.
Yeah. I love those stones.
Stennis.
And then so this is another thing to talk about, is that this is like just full of this like quartz, looks like rose quartz, the stone they use to make it. It's just full. It's just unreal, man.
And talking of the properties of rocks, you know, when there's a lot of crystal in there, there's an interchange between pressure and the amount and the electrical forces involved. And when you look into, it's called the piezoelectric effect. I talk about it all the time because it fascinates me. But that's one of the type of properties of a stone that could be affecting us in some way. One thing that was really interesting about that dolmen was on the sign they found. I can't remember exactly. Oh, it was bits of amber. They found sort of fragments of things that suggest that it was actually for a burial, and amber was one of them. There was other things that I can't remember. It's written on there's probably a photo of the sign. But they found things that associated or are associated with burials. So that was again something that made me think, in this area of the world, I do see these being used as burial chambers. And they talk about more excavating and things found there. So, but again, globally, now that we are able to think globally and look at all of these things around the world, that doesn't answer what many of the other ones were used for.
Not at all.
So there.
Well, I think that is a good place to wrap it up. This is really beautiful. These sites are cool. If you see one...
Yeah, I'm going to go and... Yeah, that's right. Honestly, so on Instagram, I post videos of I'm going to sites in between these live streams. So I post videos of me doing little like 1 minute, 2 minute reels. So you can look at photos I take of these sites, like drone shots. Also, it's a good place to catch up on the sites that we missed yesterday in the live stream as well. And comment anywhere. I've got no idea where I'm going. I know my next stop or two, possibly because of recommendations in YouTube. If anyone's got any ideas and wants me to go to anywhere, I'm heading towards the sort of south of Stockholm sort of area. So, yeah, and like and subscribe. That's what everyone says now, isn't it?
Ring that bell.
If you want.
Yeah, like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff if you want to know all of our travels, where we're going, where we've been. And be a part of the travels with us. You know, that's why we do these live streams, so that you can hop in the comments and join us in the chat. We do stream to YouTube, pretty much only at the moment, but we can try to make this a much bigger thing as we go through it. We do have some fun content coming up on the horizon that we're looking forward to doing, as well as hopefully some more of these. So Mick will be in town doing those travels. We'll try to get some content up, maybe do the live stream from the city. We'll see what we can do. Yeah, that's about all I got.
Yeah, if you can, Jay, we'll do one tomorrow.
Yeah, let's see what we can put together. Thank you, everybody.
Cool.
We will talk to you very soon. Mick, any closing thoughts?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well,
I'm
then
just
there
enjoying
you go.
where I am. It's beautiful.
All right. Well, then that's our show for today. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we will see you at the next one. Bye.